Hi, I'm Patrick Maliha, and this is Totally Random Mouth Noise. This week, my guest is Neil Hamburger. Neil, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Patrick Maliha, and this week on Totally Random Mouth Noise, I have with me comedy legend Neil Hamburger. Neil, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time out of your busy day, to come here and talk to me for this show.
No problem. Thank you. Now, Neil, you've been doing stand-up for how long?
Oh, I think about 22 years straight, and a couple of years that weren't so straight, but we don't want to get into that on TV, you know. Oh, boy.
Best story about you being a ladies' man on the road?
Well, there was a girl, boy, she was so good looking, you know.
How good looking was she?
Well, she's definitely really a real looker, you know, that's how good looking. And she was working at this truck stop, this was in the state of Utah. And I would go in there maybe once every couple of months. And one day I went in there and built up my courage, you know what I mean? And I was buying a can of the Red Bull, you know, to keep from falling asleep at the wheel, driving off a cliff. You don't want to do that too often.
Always a bad move on the tour.
I've done that too many times, and so
driven off the cliff.
Yeah, because you know, and the tire explosion and the weird hitchhikers and that whole mess. But anyway, this girl, oh boy, you just can't believe it. And so I mustered up my courage, and the Red Bull came to $2.82. I gave her $3, and I said, "Keep the change," and just sort of and you know. So that was about 5 years ago. And those kind of memories, those stick with you, you know?
And that's the ladies' man story that you have. You don't have.
You have something better?
You don't have, because you're a together guy. You've got the look. You're on the road all the time.
I'll tell you what, you put a trash bag in a tuxedo, the trash bag's going to look good. If you've ever seen the Emmys, actually, you see a lot of that.
A lot of trash bags. And by the way, I want everybody to know, the show is such high quality that we've got people setting up the cheese and fruit trays over there. If you look over there, you can see that. Look at that.
That's not for me, though.
No, that's for you back there, Neil, right there. The bottled water, if we could see that right there. That's Neil's craft services right there.
And don't miss the ashtray.
That's right.
I've been fed that so many times.
Fed out of an ashtray?
Yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. And do you smoke? Are you a smoker? Or?
No, but you know, you play a lot of the small-time pizza parlors. Now, I played Madison Square Garden, so I should be above this. But but no, I played this pizza parlor about 2 weeks after I played at Madison Square Garden, and they said, "Neil, not many people came out tonight. So much for Madison Square Garden, huh? This is not up to the level of Madison Square Garden, is it, Neil?" Laughing at me, that sort of thing. Yeah. And then they said, "Well, we've got your dinner for you, Mr. Hamburger," you know. And they bring out, it was one of those cement block sort of ashtrays that are usually filled with sand, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
They'd stolen this, obviously, off a city street, and then they just plopped down into the sand a plate of spaghetti, somebody's spaghetti, tomato sauce and all, with a fork sticking out of the top of it, you know? So that's what us entertainers have to work with. The kids watching this, you know, they probably think, "Oh, that would be so great to be an entertainer with all the drugs and the sexual situations and
the glamour,
you know, the smoking, that whole thing, and the suits. Look at this and this." But no, it's mostly not good. Dealing with a lot of disease.
So what keeps you going? Why does Neil Hamburger have to get on stage and perform and make people laugh?
Have to is the word. I have to, and you hit upon something there, as the good interviewers often do. I have to because many years ago, when I first started out, I was working in the fast food industry. Mm-hmm. You know, I won't say what my position was, but it was entry level, and I wanted to be a comedian. I was very young. And I saw a small classified ad in the back of the National Enquirer magazine that said, "You can make it in show business. Comedians send self-addressed stamped envelope and $10 to," gave a P.O. box address. I sent the money in, got back a sheet of paper that said, we can set up shows for you. We can book a whole tour for you.
Wow.
You can be a star. This is how Bob Hope got started. This was the piece of paper of my dreams. And all they needed, I think it was $249 to get started, to get the initial kit going. So, and you had to send a cassette tape with your comedy.
This is back in the days when cassette tapes were...
That was standard.
That was the standard deal.
That was a great format.
Wow.
So I sent in the tape. I sent in the $249, okay? And I get back a contract. I mean, this is amazing. They loved my tape.
Wow.
They loved this tape.
Because they have good taste.
Very good. Well, you know, they're advertising in major publication. You know they have good taste. So they send me this contract. They get the tape. They send me a contract. I sign this contract, and they gave me a call. The president of the company actually took the time to call. That is a measure of success. He says, Neil, how many nights a year would you like to work at the top comedy clubs? I said, I'll do 365 if I can get my career going, you know.
Wow.
This is how I started. And so he says, all right, done.
Really? Just
Done.
like that?
Just like that. Wow. The next day, I received a printout. It was my schedule for the next year. Booking, 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 booking. Every night a booking. Now, their situation was that the great comedians, Jay Leno, for instance, he does a show, he makes, who knows how much, $25,000 maybe for a night?
At least, yeah.
He pays 10, 15% to a management, another 10% to a booking agent. This company worked on a flat fee, $200 a show. That's all they wanted.
Wow.
So I signed that contract right away, and they said, doesn't matter how big you get, that's all we want. So you could see things are looking good for me, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, then I started doing the shows, and they're spaced 700 miles apart. I'm driving all over the country, and I do the show. It's a free comedian night at the Crap Pizza Parlor in Sulphur, Louisiana. It was called Luigi's.
Oh.
But anyway, this pizza parlor where I did the first show, there's 3 people there. It's Monday night. There's a taped in the window. It says free comedian with pizza. So people are coming in, having pizza, watching me tell my jokes. At the end of the night, I say, Luigi, that was a lot of fun. He says, Neil, that was a lot of fun. You were great. Come back anytime. And I said, oh, but Luigi, what about my money? He said, what? So he reaches into his wallet and pulls out, he gives me $5. And you know what? I had 365 more of those. But the problem was the contract I signed, I owe $200 for each booking. You see how this company worked?
So you're losing.
It was a scam. It was a scam.
And there's no way to know?
There was no way for me to know this. I thought, oh, $200, that's nothing with the money I'm making. Most of these shows I didn't get paid a penny, right?
Wow.
So they start sending me bills. I go around, I'm doing the shows.
Because you're a man of your word.
And I signed the contract. I'm doing the shows. Then the lawyers start showing up, subpoenas. I got served with a subpoena, my first subpoena I got served on stage at one of these shows in Paso Robles, California. I start getting the bills, $200, $200, it adds up. By the end of the year, and they're compounding interest, 48% interest I signed on with this thing.
Wow.
By the end of the year, I was into these guys for, it was 5 figures, okay? And then the next year, I had the contract automatically renewed. I had agreed to this. So
You didn't read the contract for...
Well, I read the part that said I owed them $200. That's fantastic. They told me they'd book me every night. For a struggling comedian, that's exciting. You know? In the meantime, I'm paying for the cars, the hotels. You know, I was bankrupt very quickly, owing these guys tons of money. The problem is that now, all these years later, we're talking 20 years ago I started with this group.
Right.
Now, I still only have to give them $200 a show, which is not bad, you know, when you're doing a big show with Tenacious D or something.
Yes.
But the problem is that I still owe them all the back pay for all those other shows and all the interest for 15 years of failure. Yes, I've had some good shows since then. Done shows with some of the hottest rock and roll bands you've ever heard of. The biggest groups.
Nickelback?
Didn't play with those guys. Thank God. Because I do not want ear cancer at this young age.
Yeah.
But the problem is that I'm still paying this thing off, and I received a statement from their attorneys recently, and apparently I'll be completely done and paid up in 2029.
Well, that's something to look forward to. That's nice.
Then because now they have me on a $5 a week meal allowance, and that's all I get. The money from the venues goes straight to them. A courier picks it up, and they've been garnishing my pay and then I was divorced, and my ex-wife is trying to garnish the $5 a week in food money, so that she can buy condoms to have sex with God knows who. And so it's not a life I would recommend, to answer your question. That's how I got started, and that's why kind of the more successful I am, the less successful I am.
It's a vicious circle. And it's interesting because the glory and the, what's the word I'm looking for? The glory and the respect that a man such as yourself brings with him is, as you can see, these people are setting up as we do our show, and you can hear people in the background. There's a lovely bartender, I'm sure, who probably is just this girl, the blonde, and the bartender. The bartender, I know for a fact, doesn't work here. She's pretending she works here just so that she can come and be a part of the, as you like to call it, the Neil Hamburger fan club. You know what I'm saying? That's what I heard the girls say, that they were going to have a huge makeout contest later on to see who gets you first.
Well, I'll tell you what, this girl's very smart, in addition to being very beautiful, because you start out with a small role like this, and the next thing you know, you're cast in Gone with the Wind 2, because someone sees you in the little 3-second snippet on this guy's TV show.
Absolutely.
This is the top-rated TV show, so get your camera time in, because Gone with the Wind 2 is going to be big. And they are casting it here in town.
Yeah. The first one did great.
Yeah, well, it broke all the records. They say that Gone with the Wind, the original, broke the Garfield 2, A Tale of Two Kittens, broke the record that movie set. So,
Tale of Two Kitties.
Kitties, sorry. Legendary film.
Okay. So, if people want to find out more about Neil Hamburger, how do people get their Neil Hamburger fix? Because you're
themselves.
Really?
Yeah. Wherever you go when you're hanging yourself, I'll probably be there.
You attend public and private hangings?
Very much so. A lot of them are private, but a lot of times, this is why you don't want to stay in some of the cheap hotel chains, because when you're trying to hang yourself on the shower rod, it'll snap. A lot of them are plastic tubing that has been painted with silver paint.
That's a
so
shame.
You can't even take care of business,
Which is depressing.
Very depressing. Business is depressing.
Yeah, well, I guess it would be depressing. You're trying to hang yourself, doesn't work. You're disappointed.
Very disappointed usually with the show, with the bed in these hotels. You get bed bugs. That's an epidemic.
And has that happened to you? You've had
bed bugs all the time. That's an epidemic. Check on the internet. It's an epidemic. They say the bed bugs are going to outnumber the humans within 5 years.
Really? Mm-hmm. Well, once they get the vote, we're done.
They'll put another bed bug in office.
If you could have one message that you could get out to the kids of America, Canada, that message would be?
You have to avoid food poisoning at all costs. Don't eat mayonnaise at a picnic or any sort of egg salad or potato salad, because in the sun, 15 minutes is all it takes, and this stuff's swarming with bacteria. It's a whole army.
Okay. All right. Well.
And also, I have a new CD out.
Oh, you have a new CD out. Well, thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
So if we want to get your new CD, how would we go about? I'm online. Love Neil Hamburger, and who doesn't? How do I go online?
Nobody likes it.
To get your new CD. How do I do that?
You can go to americasfunnyman.com, which is an unofficial, unauthorized, and unpleasant website.
americasfunnyman.com.
America's Fun. One word.
And you are considered America's Funny Man?
Well, we got the rights to the phrase before anyone else. Do you play the lottery?
I tend. If I have some cash left over, I'll do a scratch and win, or as I like to call it, scratch and lose.
Exactly. Well, when you're done, when you lose, do you save all the losing tickets as sort of in a scrapbook, or do you throw them out?
No, I throw them out.
Well,
do you save them?
Well, no, but what I do, because I can't afford to play the lottery, is I go through the trash and look for other people's tickets they've thrown out and double check them. Oh. You double check them, because sometimes they didn't notice that they had won $100,000, you know?
Right, yeah.
And that's how you win. If you can't afford to buy the tickets.
It's free.
It's free. The odds aren't much worse than when you're buying them.
That's very astute, actually.
It's actually very poor either way. And I have won. I got a $1. I won $1. You know, so
You're up.
somebody discarded the thing where they had won $1. So, you know, that's a good way to play.
And you're up.
I'm up.
You're ahead. So, and that dollar is what some people like to call found money. It's untaxable. It doesn't have to be garnished in any way whatsoever.
No, don't.
Did you invest the dollar in maybe a
Computer.
You invested in a computer?
Yeah, I went to at some of the truck stops. You can put a dollar into the computer, and then you can go online. You know.
Oh, okay.
So I did that.
And how did that work out for you?
It was over in 5 minutes. That's all you got.
Really?
But it was interesting to see what's going on there, and I set up a MySpace page. You know, because
Nice.
where all the money is
MySpace.
on those pages.
Are you a Facebook guy? Is there a Neil Hamburger
Well,
Facebook page?
It's bad enough with a MySpace. I can't do every one of these. I don't have enough time to put in the computer at these truck stops, you know. It's expensive.
$1 every 5 minutes.
It is at the truck stops, yeah.
$20 an hour. That is
Yeah.
expensive.
It's not good.
That's especially when you owe $5. No, how much? $195. So that's our 3-minute warning. I think we gotta wrap.
All right,
Apparently,
well-
it's the coat room we're in right now.
I'm just a little worried that you only have about 10 seconds of usable material, but
It's
maybe,
all usable. See what people don't realize. And I think this is the problem we have with society. One of the problems. It isn't the problem. One of the problems is that people don't realize that history happens in the now. Is that when, much like this interview, being with you, which is an incredible honor, and I appreciate that. You have no idea how you are an exceptionally difficult man to get to interview, to even see in person, and history occurs while it's happening. This right now, this is history, this is a legend. When Neil Hamburger passes on, which will be
thanks a lot.
2050, people will use this for the biography because this is candid, this is brilliant, and for that we appreciate. Now, one thing I have to ask you is, have you ever bombed in Canada? Has Neil Hamburger ever bombed in the country of Canada?
You know what? My very first show in Canada was a disaster.
Really? Where was that?
It was in Toronto, opening for a young rock and roll group called Trans Am, and boy, it was bad to the point where there were some ruffians in the audience that were offering $20 to anyone that could hit me with a bottle.
Really?
Yeah.
So did you take them up and make $20
I hit
and
myself
hit
with a bottle.
yourself with a
I
bottle?
wish I had. I wish I had. And then they sent a girl onto the stage, and she took the microphone and she starts talking about how horrible I am, you know, and I had to take it from her and throw a drink on her, and security threw her out, and security threw these people out. I mean, it was just terrible. Really, really terrible.
And wow, that is what I. And how did Trans Am do? How did they do?
Oh, they went over well, you know, because they have a lot of hit singles.
Yeah. Where does Neil Hamburger prefer to perform?
I've played a lot of arenas.
Do you like arenas? Do you like the intimate setting? Do you prefer the pizza parlors?
I like the arenas because they can't hit you with things. It's too far for them to throw, you know. But I like the little clubs because they laugh. It's a lot easier work, you know.
Do you find it's easier when the audience laughs at your jokes?
Yeah, it's not, you know, it's not a fight. You don't get into the fights and the drink throwing that I get into a lot of times, you know, and trying to shut these people down. Sometimes you have to do whatever you can to shut them down. Now, we did a show here recently at the Queen Elizabeth Theater here in town. A couple of shows.
Fantastic show. It was you and Tenacious D.
Yeah.
You were opening for Tenacious D. Fantastic
Tough
band.
crowd though, huh?
Tough crowd, really? Did you find it was
crowd.
tough for yourself?
Well, we recorded the show, and so in retrospect, it was released as a CD, excerpts from it, and you can really tell. I mean, people say to me, Neil, that CD is a nightmare.
How did you get the moniker America's number one $1 or America's favorite $1 comedian?
I got that from you. I've never heard that before in my life. I was given that moniker on TV in Canada, right here amongst balloons celebrating the use of this moniker. Get the balloons on tape, please.
There you go. The balloons, the clinking of the
beautiful.
glasses.
We've used America's $1 funny man, America's #1 funny man, and a lot of variations. But that's a new one, and I
America's
like it.
favorite $1 funny man. It's never been used.
Never been used. Carrot Top doesn't have any.
Really?
I don't think he's gotten hold of that one yet.
Well, he seems to be doing it. When are we going to see Neil Hamburger lifting weights, getting facelifts, having the whole thing happening? When's that going to happen?
You saw what happened with Barry Bonds and the scandal with that. That's going to be next year. That's going to be the big story in comedy when they go in and start investigating comedians. Carrot Top is going to be the Barry Bonds of the funny generation. You know, I don't want to get mixed up in that. These laughs are real. No enhancement from steroids of any
Good
kind.
for you.
Thank
Good
you.
for you. That is an amazing message to send to the kids of Canada.
Thank you, Patrick.
Favorite joke? What's Neil Hamburger's favorite joke?
Of my own or of Abbott and Costello's?
Abbott and Costello. Why not Abbott and Costello?
Oh, what was the joke they had about the gang rape? Oh, it was in Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy. I'm trying to think.
Oh, I remember when he says,
VD and
when he does the thing, he goes, you know, Abbott, there's a whole lot of guys who like to do gang rape. And he goes, that's right. There's fist in the ass. Fist in the ass. I thought that was coming on first. Coming on first is the one who likes it in the ass. So I remember. It's a classic.
It's a great joke. Thanks for bringing back some great memories.
The fist in the ass joke. It's one of those jokes that you wish you had written it.
And the kids these days, you know, they're so wrapped up in what's going on now, they don't bother to look at the past and see that things were very, very funny back then.
Exactly.
Do get Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy. Listen to that joke in its entirety. You will love it, kids.
That's right. So, well, thank you. Thank you very much, Neil Hamburger.
Thank you, sir.
Patrick Maliha here on Totally Random Mouth Noise. We'll see you next week. Thank you.